Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachah Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. All right, basically, I have this article here from Zero Hedge, all right, going into an EMP attack, you know, that could possibly hit the U.S., and really why the U.S. is not preparing. And let me actually read it. So it says, "Why isn't the U.S. preparing for EMP war like the rest of the world?" Question mark. It says you are likely already familiar with the 2009 EMP Commission report, and the reason is because they're in that mindset of peace and safety, and the rulers and the leaders of this corporation are not preparing the people for that. Okay, because when that time of darkness and chaos hits, it'll be a time like never before. And even if they did prepare you people for it, no preparation would be enough to deliver you from the likes of Jacob's trouble. All right. So it says here, it was this report that raised the issue of EMP preparedness for the American public. It's notorious, stating um, that just 1 year after an EMP attack, 90% of the American population would be dead, all right, caused alarm throughout multiple sectors of society. Books began to be written on the subject. Sales of Ted Koppel's Lights Out, Fortune's 1 Second After, and Crawford's Lights Out quickly reached blockbuster levels. And while I believe that these books and that report brought the issue of an electromagnetic pulse to light for Americans, I don't believe it showed Americans just how real of a threat it is. And when you read this article, you'll see that a lot of these other nations, namely the ones that are not on best terms with the U.S., all have um, EMPs within their war plans, within their plans, and they're usually against the U.S. All right, Russia, China, Iran, they all have that they've incorporated some form of an EMP, into their weaponry in the case that they need to do something to the U.S. Okay, and what do you have here? You have people celebrating Fourth of July and all of that. Okay, having a good old time. But that's why the scriptures talk about in 1 Thessalonians 5:3 about sudden destruction. And as we just read, it said a year, only a year. All right, after EMP attack, 90%. Okay, so I mean that would, according to these lease plans, wanting to reduce the population, that would be a very fast way to do that. Okay, so it says let's start with Russia. Non-contact warfare was the name of Russian General Vladimir Slipchenko's military textbook. Within this text, he explains how EMPs are the greatest revolution in military affairs in history. According to Slipchenko, the possession of an EMP renders an enemy's armies, navies, and air forces completely obsolete. And it's hard to argue with him there because that's true. EMP is not like just a lights out situation. A EMP is an electricity out situation. All right. So anything that runs in any way, shape, or form on electricity is done. It's fried. Okay. This ain't, oh, lights out. Let me go get a backup generator. Now I believe they do have some technology, some certain rooms that are built in a way where they don't get any technology within that room or within those walls doesn't get affected if an EMP hits. And I don't know exactly what material they made it out of, but it's sort of like EMP proof. Okay, it says if you can't get your missile defense system online, if your tanks won't run, if your planes have all just fallen out of the sky, you're kind of screwed, aren't you? And I remember years back, one of the brothers was mentioned to us how he had a dream that planes were just dropping out of the sky. I believe he said he was running, but airplanes just started falling out of the sky. You know, and that doesn't just happen. But this would be a perfect like this would be a way to cause something like that to happen. You know, it says the flagship journal of the Russian General Staff, Military Thought, further echoes this concept. An article within the journal titled Weak Points of the U.S. Concept of Network Centric Warfare. So they got the U.S. by name in there. All right. It says specifically points out the use of an EMP as a possible means of defeating the U.S. Okay. It says aside from the and so there will be darkness. All right, we know that pursuant to the scriptures. There's going to be darkness in this place. Certain parts of the U.S. are going to be way worse than others. Okay, but overall, it's going to be a horrible time, and we're going to read why. There's a part in here where he mentions why. It says, aside from the concern that comes with from foreign military journals, specifically hatching battle plans against your country, Russia now possesses what is known as a super EMP, a weapon of drastically increased pulse amplitude capable of disabling spacecraft, radar sites, ICBMs, energy supply systems, military command systems, and economies as well. So you basically completely destroy the country from the inside out. All right. It says, and on top of these things, or Slovakia, and to top things off, it's designed as a first strike weapon. So that's a one shot, one kill. you know, it says just food for thought. As of 2017, the U.S. had no super EMPs that the public was aware of. Then you have China. It says, what about China? It says things are no different here. EMP capabilities, theory, and defenses seem to be going relatively fast here, just like Russia. And we know, once again, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, they're not the best buddies with the U.S. All right. It says in the PLA textbook, The Third World War, Total Information Warfare. Author Shen Wei Guang notes the importance of developing China's EMP defenses to neutralize and check the U.S. if needed. That's why they talk so hot, because these nations have plans, all right, that they've set in place in the case of something going down. All right. It says other Chinese military journal articles specifically state that the U.S. is more vulnerable than any country in the world to EMP attacks. It says I believe this is singling. It says I believe that this singling out of Americans should cause eyebrows to be raised, and it definitely should. All right, it definitely should, because here it is. Why all these countries mentioning specifically the U.S. Man, because a great judgment is going to come here, but not only here, really the rest of the world, but mainly here. All right, and so I'm gonna read this part too. It says uh in Iran, not only are EMP attacks fully endorsed, but battle plans for their use are being drawn up as well. Military textbook Passive Defense, published in 2010, echoes Russian General Slipchenko's ideas on EM. It says former director of the CIA, James Wilson, points out that Tehran's military is planning to be able to make a nuclear EMP attack. Woolsey goes on to say, passive defense and other Iranian military writings are well aware that nuclear EMP attack is the most efficient way of killing people through secondary effects over the long run. The rationale appears to be that people starve to death not because of EMP, but because they live in meta-realistic societies dependent upon modern technology. All right, and that's plain and obvious and very true. Because everything in this society is technological, it's technology based, it's meta-realistic. The average individual does not know how to farm. They know how to get to McDonald's, they know how to order Uber Eats, they know how to get to fast food, but that's how they think food is made. Some people don't even know how to cook. They don't know how to harvest, they don't know any of that. So when the only means you know of surviving gets taken away, a lot of people are going to die. Because now, let's say even if you did know how to do these things, where are you gonna get the land? You know what I'm saying? Where are you gonna where are you gonna go? Especially, let's say you in Manhattan, or you in the Bronx, or you in the ghetto somewhere, and it's just concrete, dead trees, stink ass buildings. I mean, like a maze. And that's when you're gonna see that desperation that we read about in the scriptures, where people are gonna be going, raiding different neighborhoods, you know, looking for goods, looking for food, looking for people. I mean, there's darkness. Okay, your phone is not gonna work. Computer is not going to work. TV is not going to work. Radios are not going to work. So how would you how would you even begin to contact anybody? You're basically on your own. Especially trains are not going to work. So you better, man, if you're stuck on a train underground, good luck. All right. So just imagine a situation like that, man. Now let's move on. Not to forget the darkness, because when it gets nighttime, it's complete darkness. All right, you'd be lucky to get some some light from the moon, but you can't turn on a flashlight on your phone. It says, this is Second Ezra chapter 15, and I'm actually gonna go to the point. I'm gonna jump down to verse 1. I'm gonna jump down. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord." And what we're speaking are the words of prophecy. All right. Verse 5, it says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." Okay? Food. I mean, trucks are not going to run. Factories ain't going to be working. The refrigerators ain't going to be working. Things are going to just go, oh man, it's going to be bad. All right? But according to prophecy, it's going to happen. Now, we're going to jump down to um, verse 10. It says, "Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt." Now, this is really referring to the modern day Egypt. Okay? Verse 11, and this is how we know, because it says, "But I will smite them but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before." See, so that means that's the second time. "And will destroy all the land thereof." That didn't happen the first time. So we know this is referring to Babylon the Great, which is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Now, as plagues before, let's get a quick example of what was one of those plagues. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17, verse 14. It says, "But they sleeping in the same night, or sleeping the same sleep that night, which was indeed intolerable, and which came upon them out of the bottoms of inevitable hell, were partly vexed with monstrous apparitions." All right, a spooky, ghost-like creature. That's an apparition. All right, in the night, in the darkness. It says, "And partly fainted, their heart failing them for a sudden fear." And did not Yahushua say that in this time men's hearts shall fail them for fear? So that means that you're gonna have things like what we're reading about now happening again in this time, and it's gonna cause people to be catching heart attacks and dying, amongst other things, because it says, "For looking upon the things that are coming upon the earth." And as we just read, what we're reading right now is one of the plagues the Lord hit ancient Egypt with, that He said He's gonna hit this Egypt with, and that's that thick darkness. But it wasn't just darkness alone. Within the darkness, this is what was going on. Okay. It says, "For a sudden fear and not looked for came upon them. So then whosoever there fell down was straitly kept, shut up in a prison without iron bars. For whether he were husbandman or shepherd or a laborer in the field, he was overtaken, and endured that necessity which could not be avoided, for they were all bound with one chain of darkness." See? So everybody, whether husbandman, shepherd, laborer, all got hit with that darkness. And it tells you it was darkness so thick that you couldn't, even if you had light right in front of your eyes, you couldn't see it. So thick you could feel the darkness. And the Most High said, this time we're in is not going to even compare to that time we just read. So you better get ready for that. Because it ain't going to be all fun and games forever. Trust and believe that. This is the book of 2nd Ezra 15 and 19. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay? And why is that? Because when the lights go out and things get chaotic and bad, whatever little bit of uh, hospitality people might have had is gone. The scriptures tell you, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So they're gonna wild out, man. All right, talk about purge, purge forever, forever purge. So hey, these things are coming, man. And as it says, the U.S. isn't preparing for this. All right, they're out here telling you, oh yes, we're opening things back up. Everything is all good. Yahweh Shem Yahushua is about to bring sudden, swift, and painful judgment upon not only Babylon but the world. Okay. So with that, I hope you were edified. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Until next time, Shalom.